Hello, it's Tuesday, the 6th of June. You're tuned in to our noon newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. It's great to have you with us on this Memorial Day here in Korea. I'm Mark Broom. So let's start with the Memorial Day ceremony that was held just a couple of hours ago at the Seoul National Cemetery. Thousands of Koreans, young and old, and from all walks of life were there. We now connect to our Hwang Hojun at the Presidential Office of Cheong for the details. Hojun, given the country's history, for Koreans around the world, Memorial Day is a day of great significance.
You're absolutely right, Mark. This is a day the nation deliberately takes a pause from the busy, hectic life to remember those who laid down their lives for this nation. As you said, a special ceremony was held at the Seoul National Cemetery in Dongjak-Gu district, which entombs over 160,000 patriots, including many former presidents. President Moon Jae-in himself attended the ceremony along with the leadership of the ruling and opposition parties. The families of fallen heroes as well as surviving war veterans also joined the occasion. The ceremony started with the singing of the national anthem, followed by paying a silent tribute, and then burning the incense at the memorial altar. A couple of performances had also taken place to commemorate the day, but of course, it was President Moon's speech that garnered the most attention.
Yes, and Hojun then, what were some of the highlights of President Moon's speech?
Well, the president's speech can be boiled down to two key words, which is patriotism and reconciliation. At the beginning of his speech, he stressed that patriotism is not limited to war heroes. In fact, there were a total of 5 groups of people that he introduced in his speech. The first one being the Korean independence activists in the 1900s, fallen heroes of the Korean War and the Vietnamese War, Korean miners and nurses dispatched to Germany in the 60s and 70s, and women workers during the 80s who had to labor through poverty and fight for labor rights. So as you can see, President Moon's speech included his definition of patriotism, making superseded the battlefield. Rather, he honored all of those who devoted and sacrificed their lives to make Korea the country we know today. He then called for closing the gap between the political division that has taken place in recent years.
새로운 대한민국은 여기서 출발해야 합니다. 제도상의 화해를 넘어서 마음으로 화해해야 합니다. 빼앗긴 나라를 되찾는데 좌우가 없었고 국가를 수호하는데 노소가 없었듯이 모든 애국의 역사 한복판에는 국민이 있었을 뿐입니다.
Stressing that reward for sacrifice should not be merely hollow words, the president promised to recognize more heroes of the Korean independence movement and find the remains of the missing of the Korean War. But the highlight of them all was probably when President Moon pledged, of course with the approval of Congress, to boost the status of the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs to a full ministry from an agency. And that plan was actually included in the government reorganization plan, that was revealed yesterday. Back to you, Mark.